Hey, it's Sammer. Today we have an extra special podcast. We did a collaboration with Cyberport, which is one of Hong Kong's leading incubation innovation centers. So yeah, hope you enjoy. And if you like what you see, give us a like, share it. We really appreciate it. Cheers.
Feels so official. Thank you guys all so much, and thank you to our guests for coming here. I think the point of today is kind of about the starting your digital art collection. So to start, I kind of want to start with you, Danny. What like and for everyone, what are the biggest misconceptions people have about digital art collection from like a creator perspective, from an artist perspective, from a collector perspective? Like, what are the things that you've encountered?
Sure. Yeah, I think maybe I'm in a very unique position to talk about at least my experience. You know, my artist name is Coolman, and I've been creating digital art, on Web2 platforms for years and years and years before I even knew what Web3 or an NFT was. I think a common misconception would be, digital art, especially since it could live just on like an Instagram timeline or a TikTok for you page. It's seen maybe more as just something that's maybe a little bit more passive, and maybe it's just like a meme or a quick little watch while you're on the toilet or something. And I'm sure a lot of my followers have done exactly that. But it's entertainment, and people connect with it in a very real way. Sometimes people spend even more time and have even more emotion with a piece of digital art than maybe they have with a canvas, right? The barrier to entry is, almost much lower and much more universal for just about anybody to look at a JPEG like a Bored Ape. A 3-year-old could assess that that's pretty dang cool, right? So I think a common misconception is like, oh, it's not valuable because it lives on a screen, and I think that's what Web3 proved pretty wrong, very powerfully. So I could see the narrative changing, and a lot of my Web2 audience kind of waking up to that, and it's pretty cool to see the evolution to that. Oh, cool.
Hi, I think that was a great question. I think one of the things that is kind of a little bit of a misconception is digital art happens very fast. And when we look at the process of digital creative production that goes into digital art, with animations, with creating videos, with understanding the theory behind it, there's a lot of work, there's a lot of thought, and there's still a lot of intentionality that comes into digital art. And when we think of art, we should also be thinking of art is the outward expression of human creation. There's a journey, there's a story. I'm a big fan of Coolman's work because it does say something. It's funny that comment on society, and it doesn't really matter to me what medium that is in, whether it's a painting or whether that's an animated GIF or whatever medium it chose to be. It's about that human expression. And if people feel connected, if people feel a part of it because they see it on their phone and it makes them happy on Instagram, that's a beautiful thing. And the value of that human connection through the art, whichever the medium, I think is the most important thing. And the fact that digital art has made that accessible to so many people in such a wider way, I think is a really beautiful thing.
Thanks. My name is Chris, and in fact, I am a kind of hybrid. I run a traditional gallery called Shout, which is a contemporary, and we started an NFT gallery 2 years ago. And at the same time, I'm financed by training. I've been a banker for my entire career. I work with the money. So from the investor collector point of view, I have, maybe we can share something. I totally agree with Coleman. Entertainment is digital art, and I'm now still selling candles, oil paint to my collectors, client. I was in the Art Basel yesterday. People was coming back, but I would say art is a form with different vehicle to present the feeling of the artist itself. Maybe 1,000 years ago, people used oil or very simple stuff to draw, and then Coleman, now you're using your computer to draw. It's kind of expression, your feeling, your love. What do you think about the world? This is universal and no change. But now the generation is moving. My kids, they spend more time in the cell phone than the books. I mean, it's kind of changing the medium again. So I believe in the long run, I believe in digital art. In fact, as a gallery owner, my nightmare is no sales. And people in Hong Kong is collecting art, but Hong Kong is so limited space. If you buy 3, 4, 5 art in your house, how can you buy more? And that's why I believe in the digital art in the future. And I work with Samsung. Samsung is very advocate in the digital art through their television. I think we are the first partner with Samsung to promote the art store. And in the TV, we sell the frame TV to our collector. So that hopefully one day, our collector can buy the art through the electronic channel, and they can sell their art through the electronic channel instead of going to Art Basel every year, which is so expensive for most of the ordinary people. So that's my real thing.
Those are some pretty interesting insights from a very diverse background, which feeds into our next question, maybe for you, Chris. What are the trends you see? What's changing for modern collectors?
I think 2-3 years ago, when crypto is still a trend, Bitcoin was still at the peak, all of a sudden people are engaged in the metaverse, NFT. But after the crash, since 2 years ago, people are quiet. And of course, this few months is coming back. The crypto is reaching the new height, and then people start talking about the NFT again. So we did first probably NFT gallery in Causeway Bay, Hysan 2 years ago with Samsung support, which is tremendous success. But all of a sudden, everything stopped. Okay. And I think it's a process. I just talk before our start. 20 years ago, there's a internet company goes up and down. Now the company is called Amazon. There is always a process, a progress. People need to get to know more about the NFT, the metaverse, how you appreciate, how you enjoy your art piece in your living room through your TV instead of buying a canvas hanging on your wall. But I believe this is a trend, technology advance, and then people have a limited space, and people love art. This is in our genetic. It's deep in our gene. So I believe in the future. I believe the electronic art NFT will be the future trend of the art collection. And we, as a gallery, we need to pay our rent, pay our salary. We need to still doing our ordinary physical stuff. But at the same time, we still have the mandate to promote the digital art through our web. The blockchain, the different with the digital artists to work together.
Great question. I wanted to look more at kind of use cases of digital art outside of buying an NFT, which is an art NFT. So we had an event yesterday that my company and the Trilogy hosted called Alt Basel, which was a little HTML joke about an alternative offering to Art Basel, because that's how we roll. And NFTs were used in that event as part of the ticketing to basically help us to give a little bit of a Web3 access for the event, but it wasn't about the digital art that was sold as NFTs. We used certain artworks as representative, but that NFT came with a value, which was entrance into the event. We did have digital art at the event. We had a large digital screen that was showcasing the works of local artists. I think we had 8 local artists being shown on the screen, and they were going on in the background. But at the same time as that, we also included postcards that were freely distributed to all of the attendees with the artist's information, with a QR code so you could scan and you could have direct interaction with the artist. We didn't take any commission on the sales. This was done for the community side. And I think that that's a really great representation of how technology can be used to solve problems. It's very difficult when you're at an event that has 300 people, you're an artist, someone sees your art on the screen. Yes, you scan a QR code and it takes you to a tab, but if you guys are anything like me, I have 100 tabs open at once on my Google Chrome or my Safari, and I lose it. If I have a postcard in my bag with a QR code, I pick it up at a later date and I scan that. Now, we could have thought a bit in advance that could have scanned into an airdrop of an NFT, which said, had the artist's information on. That might be something we do next time. But we have to be looking at how can we use these practically? How can we use technology to help in a way? I own a couple of NFTs, but, and I shouldn't be saying this with my background, is how do I use it? Like, how do I physically use my digital art? I make digital art, I print it onto aluminium, which is fireproof, as I terrified many people in my family by trying to set fire to my printed out digital art. It's on aluminium, it's destructible. Yeah, I'll print some of your stuff on it. It's a cool technique. But there's loads of ways of looking at the creative production and the digital side and going, how can I bring this into reality? And then how can I bring reality into the digital space? And I should have introduced myself like these guys did. I run a company called Starkin, and we focus on creating, basically digitalizing human connection and human expression through different mediums onto technology and bringing things from the digital world into the real world. Because I personally believe that you cannot have the digital world without the real world, or the real world without the digital world. And that's basically all I'm about. And seeing everyone at Alt Basel come together as a community and reminding each other that we're not divided by our different viewpoints and things, and bringing everyone into a room as artists and creators, and having technology play such a big part of bringing people together in the real world. It was a really beautiful thing to see. And I'll leave it there.
Remind me of the question about investors.
No, the question,
My memory's terrible.
What are the trends you see? What's changing for modern collecting?
Yeah, so again, my very personal journey, I started, my first animation was in 2017, and it instantly went viral. And, my pages have amassed, 10, 12 million followers across all my socials. So I was doing strictly animation, right? For a few years, and that was because I was doodling, in my childhood, and I finally found an avenue where I could get my doodles out there through social media, and it was really making waves and resonating with a lot of people. So when I discovered NFTs in very early 2021, January 2021, I just noticed this was a very cool vehicle to connect deeper with either people that were already fans of my work for so many years, in a way that's almost deeper than you mentioned to me that your friend has a hoodie of mine that I made back in 2019, and it's still in pristine condition, which is awesome to hear. Which is obviously traditional means for maybe a creator or an artist to connect with their fans, like a cause doing like a vinyl toy drop, right? You get to own that physical thing and call it yours. But I noticed with NFTs, since my world is inherently so digital, whether you're a fan of mine for a few years or you're a new fan or you know zero about me, you're able to enter my universe in a deeper way, in a more personal way, where you could own. I did my NFT project is called Coolman's Universe, and it was a PFP project, 10,000 different species, which my character's name is Spesh. You could have your very own Spesh, unique to you, and you could own that. You could because you liked the color, or you liked what that Spesh was wearing, or you liked the pair of sunglasses it had, and it just seemed to me like to be a very just a deep personal deeper relationship that I could form with all these people that appreciated my work. And I think that's a really awesome avenue that continues to be explored, in new ways and in larger ways too. Like Starbucks, just maybe under a year ago, using, digital collectibles to deepen the relationship with their customers, right? And give them unique experiences and reward them, right? So I think that continues to be innovated, by the people that you see on the stage here. And I'm just the weirdo, drawing the art for it. But it's really cool to see that deeper connection with the collector being heightened, with Web3 technology.
I think that's a really great answer, and I kind of want to dig a bit more into something you mentioned about like your audience and everything else. So I think maybe a common misconception people have, or maybe it's true, is that a lot of people that like digital art are younger people, right? I can speak personally, like my fiance's mom, like, is a huge fan of yours. Like, she loves all your work. Yeah. So just wondering, like, what are actually the demographics of people that are actually collecting or interested in digital art where do you feel like, in the region, like is it APAC, is it North America? Like where is kind of the growth and where is like the more interesting stuff you think happening?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, I think while the sample size of if I think of it as a Venn diagram, right, I think of like inherent Web 2 followers, and then I think of the other circle as Web 3, folks that understand how to collect an NFT of mine. I would say those crossroads are still a relatively small sample pool, maybe, but I like to think that those few people that are doing that are the super fans. I don't know what's happening here, but I'm going to power through it. So I think to pinpoint a place on the map, it's hard to do, right? I think it probably is more Western culture, and I have a lot. I mean, my work is so, internationally appreciated, which is of course an honor, to see like a DM from like, Bangalore, India, right? Or like somewhere in Vietnam or wherever, right? So I think, do I think Web3 culture is flourishing there yet? I don't, but I think it's going to get there. And I think that's the exciting part. And I think that's why everybody in the room here is motivated to continue pushing the culture forward. But I would say, if I were to pinpoint the demographic, it's probably more so, just Westernized society that is super hyped on where this can go. So everybody that doesn't yet know how to get access can someday soon get access and be able to participate in the big old Web3 party,
Just a quick comment on that. Sorry, I always write things down because I do also forget everything that's going on. When we say collecting, it's really interesting because we're coming at that through the context of ownership, of owning something and owning an NFT. I like to just step back and think about collecting as in saving, screenshotting, seeing on Instagram, viewing, interacting. I'm sure there are many, many people who have collected your work through screenshotting, putting it as their phone background. They don't formally own it, but in some way they are using in a way that will affect their daily life, and it's interacting with their consciousness on a day-to-day basis. And I would say, based on looking at the people in my family, especially the younger kids, they always like screenshot and save all these images, and they've got Pinterest boards and they've got Instagram saved posts. And I wake up in the morning, I turn on Instagram and I have 100 memes from different friends around the world. And even though that's not a formal ownership, that's not I own this piece of content, I own this, here's my non-fungible token on whichever blockchain I'm on, it is, this is something that represents me and I must share it with the world. And I think that goes through a very, very, very young age group. I think as soon as someone has a device, you can see, like, my niece is 6 years old, she screenshots things and shows me them. And if she's screenshotting something, and the kids today have just so intuitive use of technology, it also helps to build to the brand if it's recognizable. If someone sees and goes, oh, that's cool, man, that's completely recognizable. And affecting the public consciousness in a way, even though it's not linked to financial gain, is brand growth, is brand recognition, and helps you build kind of brand consciousness. And I'll pass.
Thanks. Art piece always has two functions. One is you appreciate, you like it. Another is the investment vehicle. As a fund manager, asset manager for so many years, I love art. At the same time, my client buy art because they love it and because they believe it's going up the price. And then for digital, as I said, it cut off all the intermediate. We can buy through the cell phone easily with the blockchain. It's a lot safe to make sure the source, the authenticity, everything. So I think the Web3 basically is promoting art, helping artists. In the past, you need to go through the middleman, you need to go through the gallery. It's quite an expensive journey. But now a lot of our artists, they promote themselves using the IG, social media, and I think maybe a few years later, people can buy, sell their stream cap, their art piece through the social media, through the Web3 channel. I think this is a trend, and then it will be, become our daily lives very soon.
Got it. I mean, those are some very, very interesting points. So we covered trends, we covered misconceptions, industry growth. Let's talk about what excites you. Is there something that you'd like to share?
You know, as I said, I'm an investor. I pay with my money, and then every new change they create money-making opportunities. Okay, so I am a more I believe there's changing the landscape for all the financial activities, investments, and then art is kind of a different asset class. And like the physical gold, people can use blockchain to trade the physical gold. And I mean, art maybe later on the equity, the bond issuance, the cash flow can be traded. But today's our topic is more about art. As a financier, as an art gallery owner, I'm all in in this area.
Where to start? There's a couple of things. So I'd like to just shout out about digital creative production and the process and the teams involved in creating digital creative production assets, and everything you've seen on these digital screens and even the fabulous videographer at the back is part of the digital creative production industry. DCP and the usability and the access coming from digital art cross mediums of if you wanted to do something as a digital experience, if you want to do something in physical reality, there's so many different use cases for digital art out of the traditional, it's art and it's a gallery. What I'm wearing today is made out of recycled water bottles. So it's a fabric that me and my business partner have been promoting. This is one of her designs. And we're looking at taking digital artists' work and printing them over this to create something that's as sustainable as physically possible with digital artists. And we don't have that issue of going from physical art where it's on a canvas and we need to scan in, basically looking at using vector artwork, using files and taking it straight into pre-produced materials, which can then be printed onto this material, which is basically...
It's also for my artist.
Oh, synergy. Do you want to make it sustainable there? And yeah, there's so many different cross use cases for digital art because the files are already formatted. We're saving money by, instead of scanning something in and going through, there's so many different use cases in the real world and the digital world. The other thing is looking at how we can archive and store artwork for future legacy with the blockchain, but that's another conversation, and I will pass to Coolman.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited about what I've been excited about since day one, right? I think continuing to double down on creating experiences and deepening the connection between my characters and the people, between humans, right? The 3-year-old girl and the 45-year-old businessman and the 80-year-old grandma and everybody in between. I think my passion has always been storytelling, right? So that's why I made my first animation. That's why I made my first NFT, and it's why I first came to Hong Kong a year ago. It's just trying to discover more ways to get inspired so I could continue to make better and better work and tell better and better stories. I think we look at a Mickey Mouse, right? We look at Disney and we wonder, hey, why has this thing succeeded for a century? This piece of IP that it's a fictional character, right? But it doesn't matter that it's not real. It's affected the lives for the better for millions and millions and millions of people for a generation. That's something that has transcended the lifespan of the human being Walt Disney, right? That guy is dead, but his creations live on. Same thing with Jim Henson, to use another example, right? With the Muppets and Sesame Street. So the reason I get excited about, I think, what is possible with my characters and what I can do with Web3 digital art, Web 2, Web 1, Web 0, everything, right, is the ability to hopefully tell better and better stories to make people's lives better and to live beyond me someday. And I think that's where the magic from art happens. I think that's why art has been relevant since the Stone Age, is the emotional tie to it all. So that I continue to get more and more excited about what new experiences, what new stories I could tell in the tools that are, available to me. And when NFTs and Web3 came on my radar, that was a new tool on my radar that I said, let me figure out how to tell a story here. So, and that's exactly what I did with Coolman's universe. So, and continue to do in different ways.
Well, I love the idea of Web3 being a tool, and actually, I kind of want to drill down a little bit more, right? Right now, we're in the Web3 Living Lab in Cyberport, so Web3 obviously is a huge topic here, literally. So, what is like for you as a creator or as a collector? Like, why are things like Web3, NFT technology, like, how does it help you tell better stories? Why would you recommend, or would you recommend the next generation of artists to do the same thing?
I think the main difference between Web3 and Web2 is the exciting idea of ownership, right? You get to, just like when you, play a video game, you choose your own avatar, or, there's this extra degree of personalization. You identify with your NFT, you identify with your avatar, right? So I think what I think should be exciting for other artists like myself, and what I try to advocate for other artists like myself, because there's still a stigma, right, against, Web3 and NFTs, and maybe even just, a doubt or a caution. A lot of people hear a lot of things, and even I've had my own personal roller coaster of a journey, even in just the short past 2 years. But I think I say, you think of it, like I said before, think of it like a tool to double down on your storytelling, double down on your creativity, and if you're able to express yourself in new and different ways, then explore that, right? Run with that. And I think if I were, sitting in a room full of hesitant artists who are just so inherently creative and passionate about their work, and they were to ask me, Coolman, should I get into NFTs? Should I get into Web3? That's exactly what I would tell them. That's what I think is exciting for potential new artists thinking about joining the space.
So would love to echo that. The decentralization side of it, looking at how basically looking at blockchain as a digital archive and looking as a ledger, and the information that you want to be on there is on there. If you just take a screenshot of something and it can be reposted, that metadata is not necessarily kept. But if you look, and usually like a lot of these NFTs are working with IPFS, you can trace that back and you can see the dates of different things. It's just for your archive, basically, to understand where things are coming. There are obviously IP issues and copyright issues and everything, but that's a longer story. The other thing I've written down here is fractionalized ownership of assets. There's a lot of different companies out there that you can have partial ownership of an NFT of a larger artist and be own part of a Picasso or part of it, whatever. That's a great way to feel connected and to be a part of something. But also looking at your smart contracts, looking at the remuneration for creative teams, especially digital creative production teams. It's not one person usually making a complex animation, it's lots of people. If they can be remunerated and that's automatic on the smart contract, that means the 5 people involved in that production are automatically being paid and getting the royalties from that artwork, which is something that is a little bit harder to do with traditional art selling ways. I don't know what the proper language is for that.
I think that's it.
Art selling ways. But it's really exciting, especially for video producers, animators, and people who are using digital creative production. So definitely the way forward.
Yeah, as a gallery owner, I mean, Web3 is always keep me awake at night. I think this is decentralization, why artists still need a gallery to represent them, to sell to the end, art lover. So it keep me awake all the time. But I would say this is a change that we cannot escape. Then we need to embrace it. As a new gallery, I believe we need to adopt and accept Web3 will be the change, will be the future, and then how we can curate, how we can help our artists to grow, to understand the market, to reach to the public. I mean, at the end of the day, they will do it themselves. The collector will approach the artist directly through the internet, for the Web3, we don't have the edge. But I mean, as a gallery, we need to always think about to cultivate the new artists, to promote the art, to curate the story to the public. And this is something we need to do rather than, escaping, and thinking about the old good days. There's no more old good days for the gallery in front of the Web3 new development.
I'd just like to add in that I've been to Shout a lot, and I think what you do for the digital literacy for the artists is really, really amazing to show people, like, this is what we have on the digital screens and stuff. And I know from artists that I work with, they've gone to Shout and gone, oh, it makes me want to do digital art because I saw it here. So I think the education there has been really amazing on your side.
Yeah, it's a long story. I mean, we need to talk about offline because this is a lot of things I cannot think about. Not yet a total solution, but at least we have the direction.
No, I said the introduction of just being such a visible gallery with digital work on screens. We've got artists who are in their early 20s. Their first interaction with digital art in Hong Kong was going to Shout Gallery. And then they're, oh, I know my art's art because I've seen this. And it just, the education side of that, I think is so important and valuable for what you've done.
And there's an intersection between the offline and online. They need to see like this, the beautiful screen with the beautiful art, and then they will search that at home. I mean, this is kind of a value so far for the physical gallery to promote the digital art piece. Thanks.
I think that's totally true. I think everything comes in cycles. So as long as you're able to evolve, I think everything will be fine. So a lot about technical talk, fractionalization, digital identity. Let's talk about artists. Are there any special artists that really captivate you that you'd like to highlight?
We have a very good digital artist here, of course. Maybe this is Coolman is really fantastic. And then in Hong Kong, we have a very young artist called Of God. Yeah, we are so happy to have his first exhibition in Hong Kong, solo exhibition. It was very great sales. Of course, that's the value. I mean, as a gallery, we need to identify the new young potential artists and how we help them to grow. I think this is something, for the other technical area, I'm not the specialist to tell, but at least as a gallery owner, this is my mandate. This is what we can do and what we can help.
I'm gonna, too many mics. I'm just gonna talk about the artists that we featured at yesterday's event. So they were all Hong Kong-based artists, and we had work from the Ink Trail, Andreas von Rudenbrock, who's a great line illustrator, Alvin C.K. Lam, who does watercolor paintings of different Hong Kong artisans, Sean P. Griffin, who's a photographer who plays a lot with gender and sexuality, who was also director of arts and culture for the Gay Games, Dicky Suzuki, who's a photographer who uses post-production techniques and takes beautiful pictures of Hong Kong. Why am I missing out? Robin RVZR. She's a young female animator, illustrator, has this really beautiful style, which is a fusion of like kind of South African, Indian, and Hong Kong vibes. And she does this beautiful storytelling of her relationships through her animations and spatial artwork. Jum, J-U-M, another artist. She's, I think, Brazilian originally. She does a lot of like psychedelic digital art. Awesome stuff. What's his name? Stix Grix, digital illustrator, does a lot of like Japanese style artworks that are very playing with cyberpunk and sexuality. Myself, VMSCH _art on Instagram, and Nick Teeple, who is the beautiful video artist, and he's creates some beautiful 3D stuff, and they were on the screen yesterday.
Yeah, I'll just talk about my friends as well. I think I have so many talented folks from around the world that I've met over the years. My friend Vinny Hager who has his project Letters, which has made waves, in Web3 over the past few years. I have another New York-based friend, F. Dot. Shout out to him. He's a New York homie who has just been really, making waves as well in both, the traditional art scene and in Web3 as it just continues to merge more and more. But I think back to more so my early years before I really, picked up a paintbrush myself and started making my own canvases, which I only really started doing over quarantine in LA. But I think about Timothy Goodman, who is also based in New York, and he did a whole extensive collaboration with Uniqlo and did an exclusive sneaker with Kevin Durant, which is super sick. But I would love to give a very special shout out to my friend Chantel Martin. Chantel is just she's a brilliant artist. Does line work in just these very graceful ways. She took over the New York City Ballet at Lincoln Center. Just massive, just very elegant, talented woman. But she was the first artist that not only just invited me over to her studio in New Jersey, actually, just so I could see, what a art studio looked like. But she was also the first person to just destigmatize the whole art thing, not only with her style that I really resonated with because it just looked and felt like my doodles that I would make in my sketchbook, but she said, you should try painting, and that was like that's all I needed. I needed an artist as prominent and as established and as kind as her to say that and to allow me to. And then I think like a week went by and I just started experimenting more with my doodles and eventually started painting on canvas. And I think that's really all it takes is someone to be kind and to destigmatize, whether it's the art world, the fine art world, the gallery space, NFTs, Web3, photography, whatever it is, especially when you're, a young artist, maybe you feel like, oh, I could never do that. You just need someone to say you can. And that was Chantel Martin for me in art. So shout out to Chantel.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I really love all the recommendations. I'm definitely going to check them out. I'm mindful of time, so maybe we just have 2 more questions left, and then we'll open it up for Q&A if anyone wants to ask anything. From my end, obviously, right now it's Hong Kong Art Week. We have Art Basel, we have Art Central. Vita did a really amazing event as well last night. So I'm just wondering, like, what role do places like Hong Kong play in the development of art, digital art, NFT, Web3 art, and what recommendations would you give? What have you seen that you like, and then what suggestions would you give that could be improved?
Yeah, I'm just such a big advocate of Hong Kong. I feel like over the past, this is my second time in Hong Kong. The first time I came here was exactly a year ago, and I just feel like I just airdropped here and just didn't know what I was doing, and just like did a bunch of grassroots activations. You might have seen my 2-story mural in LKF on the California Tower, or the Coolman tram that was going around town for a few months last year. So that all happened very, very quick. But what I was very just so thrilled about and enamored about was just the love that I felt here. There was 2 weeks after the mask mandate here let up last Art Basel when I appeared. And I just felt the bustling energy of Hong Kong, and at where I was at in my personal life and my personal journey at the time is, I just felt like I needed just a nice hug, and that's exactly what Hong Kong gave me. It was the first time that I traveled internationally since before COVID. My first time I traveled to Asia. Period. A few months later, I had my solo exhibition at Shanghai K11, but Hong Kong was first, and I think like just with all those elements in mind, it just instilled in me such a powerful, deep appreciation for Hong Kong and all the people here. I at the time never seen anything like it. I never felt anything so deeply. It was just a excitement and a love and a deep appreciation for arts and creativity, which I'd never really seen anywhere else. And I come from New York and I live in LA, and Hong Kong just cares just that little extra bit deeper, and has amazing, brilliant conversations being started around mental wellness, which is my whole jam. All my characters are mental health advocates, and so I think just personally speaking, as an artist, it just instilled in me so much inspiration, so much motivation to keep exploring my own art and my own creativity, and I will always be just very appreciative of that for Hong Kong. Yeah.
I love Hong Kong. I'm half Chinese, but originally more kind of mainland China is my go to Hong Kong's been my home for the last 9 years. And just coming from someone with a Eurasian background who's lived in the UK, who's lived in the US, who's lived a long time in Hong Kong and China, I think there's something about the Chinese culture of really being dedicated to a craft and a lot of attention, a lot of detail, and a lot of focus on little details, which maybe is overseen in other areas of the world or not seen as being as important. The ingenuity, especially within China, of seeing how things can work and how things can collaborate, and the ethos of sharing. You know, you come into the family, we share the food, we share the art, we share the creativity. My company is basically me and my brother and my cousin and my uncle, and everyone supporting each other. And a lot of Chinese businesses and Hong Kong businesses are family run and family supported and supported by the community. And I feel that very much in the Hong Kong digital scene and the art scene. It feels like a family almost. Everyone knows each other. Everyone's trying to help each other out. And when I was in New York, I was shocked because that was not what everyone was against each other and I was not used to it. And I was, as soon as I was like, okay, I'm done with it. I love New York, but I'm not doing this. I'm going back to China. It was very strange because in Hong Kong, I'm perceived as being more Western. And I went to New York and they're like, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm going back there. Like, bye guys. But no, just the community and the support from everyone is just such a beautiful thing. And I'm so excited to see what the next 10 years in Hong Kong looks like.
I mean, Hong Kong has already been one of the biggest trading center for art. So Art Basel is very successful. So I think basically Hong Kong has all the elements we need to build up the art market. But for the digital art, it's far from enough. I went to Art Basel yesterday. There's not enough support, or there is not enough display for all the digital art. I believe maybe Cyberport can have a more active role in promoting the digital art, because in the physical art, we already have all the good ingredients that not much space can compete with us. Maybe just some small push from the government to promote the digital art, it helped a lot.
Those are some very, very powerful takes. Conscious of time here, what piece of advice would you give someone starting their art collection journey or art journey?
I would say to start something you like. It's very important, no matter it goes up or goes down. No one knows, but as long as you love the art piece, you feel good when you see it in your living room, in your bedroom every day, or in your screen cap, your cell phone. This is the art you can start to collect.
I've just written down here, intention, expression, and medium. Just do it. What's your intention with this art? How do you want to make people feel? How do you want to express that? What mediums are you going to do it in? If you're looking at digital art, do you want to make an animation? Do you want to use Photoshop? What tools are you going to use? Educate yourself, see what's out there. Never stop learning. I learned ZBrush the other day because I was like, I wonder what it'd be like to do 3D modeling. I'm sure I could work it out. I wasn't very good at it, but it was still fun to do and to understand more in depth about the process that people go into. And there's tutorials online you can teach yourself, have fun with it. But what are you trying to express? What are you trying to communicate with the outside world? And how can you do that with a digital medium?
I echo what both of you guys said. Collect what you enjoy, just doing it. To speak about, just getting into art, period, I think, you just really, there's so much pressure, right, in the current age of content and social media, and you're like, oh, well, here's my style. I want to doodle, in this certain type of way. And then you see on social media that there's 1,000 other people doing it exactly that way. And you're like, well, how am I going to break through? How am I going to break through in photography and painting and in NFTs and sculpting and music? And there's just infinite reasons to not do it. So I think, when there's infinite reasons to not do it, then you might as well just give it a shot, right? Because why not just see what happens? My first animation that I posted was I didn't have any drawing tablet. I couldn't afford an iPad or a Wacom tablet. All I had was a pen and I had a Sharpie and a an index card, a white index card, and I had my phone, and I had my college computer, and I somehow figured a way to make that character that I drew on that index card to move on my computer. I had no animation software. I only had Final Cut Pro, which I used to edit music videos that I would shoot for like $200 USD if I managed to get paid by the rapper I found on Craigslist. So like you just gotta go for it, and you figure it out along the way. And if there's if there's infinite reasons to doubt yourself and ask yourself, well, why even bother? That's, to me at least, that's usually a good indication that you should explore it, because why the hell not, man? And so I would say, you're always going to think that your idea is dumb until it's done. And I thought my first art animation journey was a dumb one. And if I didn't do it, I wouldn't be hanging out with all these cool people in Hong Kong right now. So yeah, just go for it. Just go for it.
Thank you guys so much. That was such amazing advice. Can we give them a round of applause? It was really great. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to ask a question or?
Thank you guys. Appreciate the sharing. Lots to learn as well. Hopefully not a controversial question, but I want to get your thoughts about generative AI and the role it plays in digital creators as well. Like, do you see as creation of value as well, an enabler, or do you see as destroys value of what it means to be an artist? Just want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, just another tool, man. I think, like I said before, every generation has a new set of tools that are at first scary and maybe even a little misunderstood, right? So when the internet first came out, people were terrified. When the printing press first came out, people were terrified, right? So I think, and even the stigma around Web3 and NFTs, right? You compare it to 2-3 years ago, it's much less scary, much more eco-friendly. The stigma around it is much less, and it just takes time for people to get used to it. So I think it's just a new tool for people to explore. I've seen people and artists and creatives, storytellers do amazing things with generative AI. Will it be used for a lot of evil at first because it is a new technology? Of course. That will kind of be weaned out over time. I think anytime there's new technology on the block, it attracts a lot of innovators just as much as a lot of scammers and bad doers. So we're in that period right now, and also just a lot of naysayers, right? People that are freaked out about it. So I think we're in that period right now. I'm excited to see where it goes in the next few years for storytellers. Yeah.
What's your definition of art?
I would say uniqueness.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So when we look at, I have a 45-minute long thing on literally this topic, which is called Vision versus Visual. It'll be uploaded to my LinkedIn in the next few weeks. But basically, the definition of art is the outward expression of human creativity. Human creativity, not AI creativity. And the way we define art is about the intentionality. So if you type into Midjourney, image of pig, is that art?
No.
Exactly. It's just a cool visual. It's vision versus visual. If you are putting a prompt in the thing I go through and I create a prompt about a capitalist pig that's influenced by Bertolt Brecht and Weimar Republic, Germany and cabaret and all these things, and it's a pig that looks like it's very sad, and it's a drawing, and it's like Egon Schiele and all this stuff. I can argue the story and the narrative behind that. Is it art because of the output, or is it art because of the intentionality?
Because of the intentionality,
right? Yeah. So if there's a narrative, if I can argue this is what I'm saying with this art, and this is what I'm expressing, and this is my human opinion, this is my human expression, this is my journey, yeah, it's art. And if you can do that with AI, if it makes things quicker, go for it. I'm not one of these. I like doing things as if I see something in my head and that's what I'm trying to communicate visually, if I can get there quicker and if AI helps me, amazing. The bigger question is around the ethics of where are these images sourced from? And that's something that we're not going to go into right now, because I do like to rant and I'm cautious of time, and I'm sure Chris has many interesting things to say on this.
I have nothing to add. Totally agree.
One more question?
My question is to you. I mean, I really found your answers brilliant, and you are as beautiful in and out as a beautiful art piece with your lovely intellect as well. So my question about is that as an investor of digital art, and I think you already said that we have to give it a go, right? So what exactly is the entry point, and how can we make sure that we gain profit? Because as an investor, we are always looking for profits, right? Although we might have to give it a go, but yeah, thank you.
So, having a little think about that, if you were to commission a digital art piece, whether you're buying it as an NFT or whether you're making a digital commission, and you were to buy the IP rights to that with the artist, so say you come to me and say, Vita, I'd like to commission an art piece from you, a digital art piece. I'm going to own the full usability of this, and I want to be able to use it in everything going forward. This is my budget. Can you do it? And I say yes or no. And then you take that and you use it and you sell it to people to print on materials. You sell it to turn into merchandise. You sell it. That's a way to do it. But we're thinking about it as, instead of looking at it as this is an art and it stays on my wall and yes, let's put into this. You're going to build a brand. You're going to build an image. You're going to build a product line. Maybe you're going to have it as an NFT token that has some other kind of use case. It's just the similar explanation of why do you pay a digital agency to go and do your branding for you, and then you use that brand to,
Right.
represent yourself. How do you create a brand out of that digital art piece? That would be my answer.
Mm.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think the conversation on profit is an interesting one, and I know zero about it because I just draw little characters with cute little butts, and they dance around and they say everything's going to be okay. So if the profit can be an emotional one, I did my job. And then if you happen to, flip it 10 years from now for $1 million, then great, cool.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Well, I mean, it's demand and supplies, price always come to, but as long as the purity of owning an art is something you really love, really to enjoy, I think it's more than the money. Thank you. Perfect.
Thank you.
Just the last addition to that is think about what the purchase of that art to a young digital artist means. That's encouragement for them. That's support of them. That's if you're in a position to financially contribute to the artist and for them to be able to go out and create more art, you're sharing your wealth and allowing them to go and continue to create. And that is the thing of the most value.
Yeah, I agree totally. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Also, I just want to thank Cyberport for holding the venue. There's food and drinks in the back. Yeah, thank you guys. Please feel free to make maybe, Elisa, do you want to come take a picture with us?